Hello, this is Mrs. Jones, and I am going to be talking through some slides in lieu of having a traditional back to school night or meet the teacher night. We at Rising Star opted to do more of a virtual back to school night by providing you with some slides filled with information. There are many links within this to other documents of information and to sign-ups, such as dismissal plans, volunteering, your contact information, etc. So you probably have heard this is our second grade team this year: Mrs. Oliveras, Mrs. Lansden, and myself. A little bit about me. Professionally, this is my 22nd year of teaching. I have taught in both the St. Louis and Kansas City areas. I've taught 5th grade, 3rd grade, kindergarten as a reading specialist, and most recently at Rising Star as an innovation specialist, where I've worked mainly with kindergarten 1st and 2nd. So I know these students, which is really exciting and fun. About me personally, I've been married 16 years now, and my husband and I have 2 children. Our daughter, Addison, is an 8th grader, and our son is in 5th grade. And they're both in Shawnee Mission, and they both play a ton of soccer. So every weekend, year-round, it seems like, well, I get a break in the summer, but all the time I'm at a soccer field, whether it's indoor or outdoor. I personally like to run, and I love to read when I get a chance. Here is a look at our schedule for 2nd grade. Some things to note are that we do have some scheduled restroom breaks in there. I hope to phase these out as the students develop more responsibility. A big block of our time is spent on English language arts, primarily reading. That is a big goal of mine, to get everyone reading proficiently and falling in love with books. We also have a big chunk of time for math in our afternoon. You'll note that our lunch is right in the middle of the day at 11:05. Our day ends with specials. So keep that in mind as you make plans for doctor's appointments, dismissal plans. It's hard to communicate that to the students at the end of the day because they're already at specials, and I only have about 5 minutes to pick them up and get them reorganized before we dismiss. Goals for 2nd grade are to meet students' needs academically, socially, and emotionally. I really want to get to know your student well enough that I can differentiate and provide what they need as an individual learner. A big goal of mine is to develop that sort of classroom community where every student feels valued, has a sense of trust and a sense of belonging. I know that those are critical things before any real learning can take place. They've got to feel safe and loved. On this slide, there are some links to the elementary program of studies, which goes into more depth about what we will be doing in each subject area, and the standards are linked there as well. You probably heard last year that we, as a district, chose 8 big bad standards, the priority standards that are the main goals of each year of 2nd grade. And so you will be hearing more about that. That'll be the main areas that I am evaluating your child and really working to achieve mastery around those 8 priority standards of math, English language arts, science, and social studies. The next few slides give you a little bit more detail. Mainly in 2nd grade, we need to tackle multisyllable words so that we can read fluently and make meaning, because by 3rd grade, we need to be proficient readers who can read to learn. Right now, we're still mastering learning to read for many of us, and I want to emphasize that we've got to really beef up our reading. In math, we're developing problem solvers with a great number sense and understanding of place value. Students are expected to add and subtract within 20 with fluency. That means knowing their facts by the end of the year. So that's something to be working on. Here's an overview of science and social studies. I've mentioned the importance of classroom community, and I will just touch on the fact that our school does PBIS, which is positive behavior interventions and supports. Our main thing is creating clear expectations and reinforcing those with our paper tickets called Starbucks. These students can use to buy experiences with staff members and friends and some items from our Starbucks store. And we are also a BIST school, which means that we have had some special training on the philosophy of BIST, which you can see is about being a behavior intervention and support team. It's a lot about coaching students and helping them to develop skills so that they can truly have these goals for life. We also believe in protecting students from things they can't handle. So if we're seeing that a student is struggling with where they're sitting or with a material that they have, a supply that they have, we would suggest they perhaps move to the safe seat until they can get their body under control or until they're ready for learning. Our biggest things are that students cannot be hurtful to one another or to adults, and that they cannot be disruptive to the learning environment. So there are times when we move students to a safe seat, which is just an area of the room. If they show that they need maybe a greater physical break or an alternative space, we would move them to another second grade room, our buddy room. And if they really are showing us that they cannot be okay or cannot be safe, or keep from disrupting the learning environment, then they may be moved to an area of Mrs. Horn, our social worker's room, which is our recovery room. Then once the student is ready for learning again, that they've shown they can follow directions and they've been able to talk through the problem and are coachable, can talk through what was the problem, what will I do differently, etc. Then they will be able to move back through the buddy room and the safe seat back to their seat. So it's not at all a punishment. It's really just a way of teaching children to be accountable for their actions. Another thing that we will do as part of our classroom community is called Sharing Thursdays. And this is a chance to allow us to get to know each other in a different way by bringing in some things from home and sharing those on our scheduled days. You'll see that schedule is linked here. Here are some suggestions, and please help me with enforcing the idea that this is not a time to bring in toys and share toys. We want to know more about each other than just what toys we like to play with. If that's really, really important, perhaps a photograph or a picture drawn of that toy, telling it about, and the student being prepared to tell about what they do with the toy, that would be helpful. But we've found that toys in backpacks don't stay in backpacks and get lost and become a distraction. As I mentioned, we're going to work really hard at setting very clear expectations and practicing these from the beginning of the school year, from day one, and this will be something we do throughout the year, is make sure that students know what's expected and that they can be successful with that. This is a picture of our Starbuck, the ticket that I was talking about, that students receive when making those good choices. Here are some reminders about arrival. The big thing is that students should not be dropped off before 7:40 a.m. that's when breakfast begins or when students can go to the gym. Students need to be at school by 8 o'clock. If they arrive after 8:10, they are considered late, and 10 tardies will be equivalent to 1 excused absence. So I just want you to be aware of that. Here's information about dismissal. It is much the same as last year. If you're going to be picking up from the front, it is suggested that you park and walk up to the south door. It's the one that's closest to candlelight, over by the art room to meet your student. Otherwise, everything else remains much the same. If you would please complete this, if you'll click on this link, it'll take you to a document where I'd like you to fill out how your student is going home, and if there are changes in days, anything, as much information as you can provide would be great. Please note that if you could let me know before 11 a.m., I would appreciate it. That way I can look at my email and let your student know of a change in dismissal. I know sometimes things come up later in the day, so please then call the office because, as I said, we have specials at the end of the day, and so I'm often in meetings and not in the room to receive phone calls or to look at email. And so I've only got about 5 minutes to pick up the students and then get them reorganized for dismissal. Here is information about lunch. Please note, on early release days, we eat really early. If you would like to come for lunch, you're welcome to. We have a special table for students with guests. I know you got this information from Mrs. Darby, but just a reminder that we no longer can accept food as a birthday treat at school. And there are many reasons as to why, but we have other ways to celebrate. And there are some suggestions here, but we also may do lunch with the teacher, lunch with a small group, or an extra 10 minutes of recess. I'm going to let students choose. Here's information about how to be in communication with me. I have just started the Remind app. So download that app, and then I think actually you don't even have to download the app. You just text this number, you enter this number and then text this message, and you will be joined into our class called Second Grade 1920. This is my extension. Oh, I'm sorry, there's an extra 3 here. It's 4529, 993-4529. I will fix that. The take-home folder will be sent home daily. All right, and then we are still working to schedule field trips. We'll get information to you soon. Fall conferences, the sign-up is here. Please sign up. I look forward to meeting with you and talking about your students' progress. I will send more information home about homework, but it's just an opportunity to practice, and it's a great way for you to be involved. The most important thing is to read with, to, and listen to your student. Here's some information about the technology usage and what we'll be doing with it, what apps we'll be using. In other news, we'll have a student teacher in October, Miss Armstrong. Here is a place to sign up for volunteering, either at school or at home, doing some things behind the scenes. And also, I would really appreciate if everyone could send in this questionnaire. I will have paper copies of it as well too. So if you don't get one at Sneak a Peek, let me know and I'll send it home. Finally, we have a play date scheduled for August 24th, play date and popsicles in the park for all second grade families from 11 to 12. We're going to Sarco Park at the Sunflower Shelter, and please RSVP here. Finally, there is a document where you can share your information. All right, I look forward to getting to know each and every one of you and your students. I just know this is going to be a great year together in second grade.